Discuss the concept of envisioning and creating architecture. Now, coming to that of architecture, first of all, we need to discuss about the software architecture. In order to develop a particular system or the application, we need to identify or we need to know about the software architecture, because if the architecture is not being built properly, automatically the software is not going to be developed. So for this we need to know the definition of software architecture. The software architecture of a program or computing system is the structure or the structures of the system which comprises software elements, that externally visible properties and the relationships among them. This represents that in order to develop an architecture, first of all, we need to identify what are the different software elements that are being consisting of, that it need to be done. After that, we need to identify the properties. Now, and we need to show the relationships among them. The software elements are nothing but the process models which are being assigned, like the SDLC model, which consists of software requirements or requirement analysis. After that, we need to go for the system design. After that, we need to go for development. After, we need to go for the testing. Next, finally, for the deployment state. So a number of software elements that are being existing, and with this we will be developing the corresponding software. Now, for each and every element which it is being taken, we need to show the properties. That means how the software is executing it, what is the behavior of the system, and what is the relationship that it possesses, that it need to be identified. So all this comprises of the software architecture only. Next, now this particular software elements which we are taking in the software architecture, it should follow the rules and regulations. Now coming to that, the software which you are developing it shows the relationship. Now, as and when the relationship that is being occurred, that means how the modules that are being placed in the corresponding system and what the module is and how the module behavior is, that it is being represented with the relation, and also shows that the coupling and the cohesion of the modules. The coupling and the cohesion of the modules, that means the relationship that is being comprised of. Next, while showing the coupling as well as the cohesion, it refers that the behavior of the system also. In this, if coupling is being taken place, that means interaction between two or more modules, that it is being defined with the coupling, and relationship that is being existed within itself, that means how the module that is internally working off, that it shows the cohesion. So this kind of behavior, it is being observed in the architecture. Now, in the software architecture, before development of the complete architecture, first of all we need to develop the abstract of the system, which it consists of different sets of activities and methods, approaches, and the results that it is being done. So if we go through that with the help of abstract, we will be identifying an idea in which how the system or what the system that it consists of, that it is being represented. Next one. This architecture, it is being followed by two. One is with the high level design, architecture with high level design, and architecture with overall structure of the system. Now in the high level design, which it is being defined with important data structures. The meaning of data structures is not related to stacks or queues. It is related with what are the different modules that it is being included of, that it is being represented with high level design, and the overall structure of the system, which it consists of the different kinds of attributes that are being possessed in the corresponding module, and what the relationship between the module to module, and how the execution of the modules that are being taken place, whether the module is a successful one or the failure, that it is being represented in the overall structure of the system. Now it also shows, while developing the overall structure of the system, it also shows the multiplicity. It means the relationship which it possesses, like one to one, one to many, many to one, many to many, that it is being consisting of. Now the architecture process advice. Now in architecture process advice, there are a number of advices that are being taken in the architecture. The first one is that while developing the architecture, we need to frame a group or a team that it is being possessed, and with a single architect. Now there need to be a team leader and a team that need to possess it and follow the guidelines under the team leader, in which the architecture of the system that need to be defined. Second thing is that the architect, it should have the functional requirements and the prioritized list of quality attributes. So functional requirements refers to what are the different requirements that are being gathered in order to develop the application, and the next one is the requirements which are being gathered, that it need to be a qualitative one, that represents that each and every attribute which is being defined, that need to be compulsorily used in the system, and also make sure that what are the different priority levels that are being taken in the attribute level. The third one is we need to represent the architecture in a well documented format, which is being given by the system architect. The document that is being referred is Software Requirement Specification Report. It is being showing both the static and the dynamic views. The next one is that the architecture which is being used is being referred with different kinds of stakeholders. That means the people who are using the application, okay, that refers with development of the application and usage of the application. Both it can be viewed. These are being the stakeholders. Now in the architecture, we should represent both quality and the quantity of the system. Now the quality represents that each and every component or each and every requirement that it is being taken, that it need to be used in the application. Unnecessarily the attributes which are being defined, it should not have, or it should have a qualitative one, without making the corresponding usage of the attribute. We should not define the attribute. Next one is the skeleton which it is being represented. That means the architectural skeleton that need to be represented. Now in the architectural skeleton, we need to represent in the form of an abstract. We need to represent it in the form of an abstract. And each and every, in the second point, after developing it as an abstract, make sure that that particular architecture which shows the relationship like communication between the modules to modules. Next one is each and every resource that is being utilized to develop the application in architecture, that it is clearly specified. Next, in the architecture there need to be different kinds of components that are being used, and that particular set of components, they need to show three important things. One is the relationship, two the guidelines, three within the time the set of modules that need to be represented. All the three that need to be placed, and also make sure that each and every component that is being placed or being designed in architecture, that it should be independent as that it need to be provided. Next, in architecture, the architecture is components and connectors. Now the connectors that are being defined as, it is a runtime mechanism which is used for transferring the control and data around the system. That means it shows the relationship between the elements and perform the control on the data that it is being represented. You can see here a uninformative architecture. Why this particular system is called as an uninformative architecture? For example, this particular architecture which it is represented with flight aviation system. Now in this particular flight aviation system we need to develop an architecture. The architecture which consists of totally 4 components. One is control process, prop process model, reverb model, noise model. Now in the control process model, if we are not under the complete definement state, what we need to control, what module that need to be controlled, how it need to be processed, which is under the question mark state. Next one is prop process model. The meaning itself says that it is not being understandable where to execute or where to show this corresponding module. Next one is reverb module. That refers that it is also under the state that technical words that are being placed, but what this particular system or component that is being placed is not being known. A partial information that is being known with the known word called noise model, saying that the flight aviation system, in the flight aviation system, we should not possess any kind of noise while moving in the flight or development of the flights. So totally if we see this particular system or the total architecture, this architecture is an uninformative architecture, even though the architecture that is being represented, but the architecture is an uninformative one. That means it is not having a proper meaning, but the intention is that we need to develop an application for flight aviation system, but this is not being processed. The answer is that the architecture cannot be built because we are not having any proper guidelines or any proper information that is being possessed. So we are not able to develop the architecture.